Hello, good morning. How are you all doing today on this very bright and lovely Monday morning? It is the 29th of July. If you're watching me live, if you're not, I don't know when you're watching, but I hope you're well. Today we're going to be making some very pretty rings. They're little cocktail rings. They make kind of like a flower cluster and they are adjustable, so I'll show you those down on the mat so you can have a closer inspection of them. I'm going to measure out and show you exactly how to make these regardless of the size that you want. As I say, they are adjustable, but you would like the woven band of the ring shank to go around the circumference of your finger. So there's various different ways you can do to measure that out if you need to, or you can just follow along and kind of wing it like I often do, and then once I've done one I know where I need to go with it. But I hope you're all well. I'll take you over to the website very shortly. I'm just going to say a quick good morning to those who have joined us. So good morning to Rachel, who's in a warm and sunny Barrow. Good morning to Jan, who's in a sunny Sudbury, and good morning to Rachel. And Elaine is in a sunny Accrington. So it sounds like the sun's shining everywhere in the UK today. Good morning to Edward. I hope you're well. So it looks like it's going to be a very lovely warm week, which is lovely. Camille says, good morning, Natalie. How are you? Did you miss me? I always miss you. I miss you every time we're not doing a live. And I hope you're okay and you've had a lovely holiday wherever you've been jetting off or driving off to. So I'll take you over to the website now. We are totalybeads.co.uk. You can get your kits here so you can make along with us. We've got an offer on for you today. They are very reasonably priced, but they are limited stock. So if you would like to get these kits, then I suggest you don't hang around too long. Judith says, been looking forward to seeing this one. Good morning, Natalie and everybody. Sunny but chilly in West Lothian today. Hello, Carol. I'm looking forward to doing the ring because we have done some rings before. I love making rings, but often I find people kind of shy away from them because they look tricky, but also the size often catches people off. So it's nice to do an adjustable one if you gift your jewellery or you sell your jewellery. Good morning to Tina. Hello to you. Okay, so over we go to totalybeads.co.uk and you can get your kits here. So you can go up to the jewellery making section and you can go on the video tutorials, or you can click on the video tutorials logo, which is here, and there's another one as well that pops up with our faces on it. Today I've named this Lola, so the Lola cocktail ring, but you can scroll into this or you can type it into the search and that will take you through to the kits today. So I've done 3 lovely colours. You can get the iceberg on the silver, the lemon chiffon on the gold, on the rosewood on the pink colour wire. All of the wire that I'm using is copper. It is colour coated and its colour remains, so it should keep its colour for quite some time. I'm using little glass pearls, 2 sizes of the glass pearls. So I'm using a larger one in the centre and then just framing it with those slightly smaller pearls. I'm using 2 gauges of wire. I'm using a 0.8, which is a 20 gauge wire. You could use 18 gauge and size up to a 1mm if you wanted to. And I'm using 0.4 as the weave-in wire, which I think is 26 gauge. So each of your kits are £1.99. We do ship worldwide. If you want to change your currency, you can do that at checkout, or if you just scroll all the way up and you can click on there and change it as well. And we've got an offer on today, which is 3 for 2. So if you wanted to get 2 colours, or 3 colours rather, you only have to pay for 2 of your rings, and you can get as many as you want. Each will make just 1 ring in your kit, but you could also change your colours around as well if you wanted. So you might think, I'd like the larger blue bead as the centre, but I'd like it with the lemon chiffon on the outside, or whatever. You might think, I want the pink beads, but I want it on the silver wire. So you can change up your kits if you multi-buy as well. But as I say, it is limited stock today, so be quick. So these are what you get in your kits. It makes one ring. You're going to get your copper beading wire, which is plated, as I say, in a particular colour. So you're going to get 2 different gauges of your wire, and you're going to have enough to make one ring up. And we're using the 4 and the 8mm pearls. So I'm going to be using one of the larger 8mm pearls, and around the side to frame it, I'm going to be using 9 of the 4mm pearls. And that's just to make sure that they go all the way around the edge. Again, you can change up the size of your beads, but obviously you'll need to kind of change up the design slightly to account for that. So this one is the beautiful blue. I did take lots of pictures, but Simon's just chosen this one to show you. So that one is the lovely blue coloured one on the silver wire. This is your lemon chiffon, gorgeous colour pearls, and they go on the gold. They're creamy and dreamy. And we also have the rosewood, which is these lovely ones here. If you want to scroll down specifically and see what materials I'm using, just keep scrolling. You'll see there we've got the 0.4, the 0.8 coloured wire, same colour wire, and the same coloured glass pearls in the 4 and the 8. And they're a nice size. It's nice and comfortable. It does give a bit of a statement look to it, but they're not too large, and they're very lightweight. So they are your 3 colours today. And I'll take you down on the mat and I will show you how to get making with them. So £1.99 or 3 for 2, but they are limited stock. So let me see what I've missed in the comments. Good morning to Jan. She says she's melting in the heat already today. Mel's in as well. She says, evening everyone from Australia. It's been a bit cold. Good evening to you, Mel. Hello to Mina in a sunny Leicester. And Camille saying that she's missed Mina as well. So let me go down onto the mat and I'll show you how these look and how we can make them. So these are your 3 colours, that lovely lemon chiffon, the lovely blue and the lovely pink. So I've kind of matched the wire accordingly. So you can see they are adjustable, as in the shank doesn't close. You can open it up larger or smaller and they fit nicely on your finger. That copper wire is going to make it quite moldable and easy to adjust. So you can see whatever ring size you're after. If I just slide this on, if I want to make that bigger, all I would do is just slide it onto a larger finger or ring mandrel, and these will open out, as you can see at the back. And then to make it smaller, those sections are just going closer together. You want to keep these loops quite small because it does, of course, need to fit comfortably. So you can see I can just adjust it and that will fit whatever you like. So that one is the lemon. I'll pop my little hand bust down and I'll show you. This one is the pretty pink. It looks much more complicated than it is. And this one is your blue as well. And you can see you can do different styles on the back. If you prefer to curl them in that way rather than that way, you can do whatever you like. Jan says, I've just got my latest order from Totally Beads. What did you get, Jan? Good morning, Anne. I hope you're well. So you can see they do fit comfortably. You can wear them however you like. I think they just make a nice kind of statement ring, and they're quite summery as well because you've got that little halo around that center, which is giving a little bit of flower vibes. Okay, so if you were to kind of want to figure out your ring size, there's lots of ways to do it. What I would like is for that woven band to fit pretty much the circumference of my finger, leaving a little bit of space for my curls at the end. But even if they don't go all the way around, you know, you can overlap these. If I put this on an even smaller finger or make it smaller, you can overlap them so you can get it to fit. It is adjustable. Usually when I'm trying to work out the circumference of my ring, of course, you can get various different mandrels. I've got ones which look, ring sizes. I've got ones which look like jailer's keys. You've got this one, which is kind of like a little belt that locks around your finger. And you can get various different mandrels as well. These ones are really good. It's got the UK, European and US sizes on it. Some do numbers, some do letters. You can get wooden ones as well. With these, they've got the groove in the middle, so sometimes shaping can be a little bit more tricky. If you've got something like this, it's just kind of like a solid shape, and they have the sizes on as well. But if you don't have a ring mandrel, it doesn't matter. You can use anything which is kind of cylindrical, or you can shape it to your finger as well. So don't worry if you don't have these, they are not essential. Judith says perfect holiday rings. Good morning to Sally as well, who says she hopes we're all okay on this beautiful sunshine day in Torbay. So I'm going to start off taking my length of my 8mm wire, 0.8, sorry, which is 20 gauge, and I'm going to cut about 10 centimeters each of these. Now, if you need to make a larger ring, I still think this size will do, and if you need to make a smaller ring, I still think this size will do. You can just adjust either the weave repetition that we do, which is this section here, or you can just trim off. So I've gone for about 10 centimeters of that, so 20 centimeters in total, and I've cut 2 lengths. I would like these fairly straight, so you can just run that through a cloth, through your fingers or through your wire straighteners, whichever you prefer. It doesn't have to be completely straight, but the straighter the better. And I'm going to use my 0.4 weaving wire, which I think is 26 gauge. I'm going to take quite a long length of this. I think I'm going to need about 90 centimeters, about 36 inches of the 0.4, and I will be cutting that off the reel. I'm going to do that now, actually. Again, it's always best to have more wire than it is less. You can always add this on if need to, though, so don't worry too much. So I'm going to take my first base wire of the 0.8, and I'm going to start my weave a little bit up, about 2 centimeters up, because I'm going to make those curls in a bit. So I'm going to take less than an inch, about 2 centimeters up from the end of the wire, and I'm just going to take my weaving wire and I'm going to place that on top. And I'm going to secure that wire on by just wrapping 3 times. I always wrap 3 times usually, just to kind of anchor my wire on into position. Now, when I'm wrapping that on, I'm not wrapping the wire over the last coil. I'm just wrapping it next to each other. So I've got that in position a few centimeters up from the end. And then going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to trim that off. I would quite like to trim that so it sits either in between the other wire or just on top, so it's on the outside of the shank, and it's going to sit here, so it's not going to catch on anything. And to make sure it doesn't catch on anything, I'm just going to stick that little tiny tail end down by just giving it a little press in. And again, you can tighten up your weave by just compressing that. Now, to do your weave, you can do any 2-wire weave that you want. I'm going to do a really simple one. So I'm going to take my other length of wire and I'm going to line them up together so my ends are flush. And I'm going to wrap around both wires twice. So I'm taking it over that top wire just to bind together. So 2 wraps over both. And then don't worry if that moves, you can readjust it. And I'm going to bring my wire in between those 2 wires. And I'm going to position it right on down. And I'm going to do 2 wraps just over that bottom one. Every now and again, just go in with your pliers just to neaten up if need to and compress. I want those weaves to sit nice and neatly next to each other, and that means it's going to be comfortable when it sits on my finger. So all I'm going to do is 2 wraps around both and 2 wraps around the bottom wire. And I'm going to repeat this about 12 times. So I'll have 12 of these ones that go over the top 12 times. You can adjust that if you want to do more or you want to do less. As long as we've got the same on one side as we've got on the other when we come to do that, just to make sure that your little flower cluster sits nicely in the middle. So 2 wraps around the bottom, just bringing that in. I'm guiding it with my finger where I want it to be. Again, you can compress it down if you want to, just to make it neat. And then I'm taking it over both. And you can wrap towards you or away from you. I never have a particular way of doing it. It's however I've attached the wire on at the beginning, and that just tends to be how I do it on the day. So 2 over the bottom and 2 over both. Take your time with it. The slower you go, the neater it'll be. Bringing the wire through the middle and just wrapping twice over the bottom and then twice over the top. Now, when I'm weaving, what I do is I position the wire where I want it to be. I'm not pulling it too tight. I'm being fairly gentle with it, sliding it into position before I bend it round the wire. And all that's going to do is it's just going to tell the wire where I want it to sit before I kind of lock that shape in. If you want to, you can splay these 2 wires out at the end just to make sure that you can get that weaving wire comfortably in the middle, in between. And they will want to cross over sometimes. So 2 around the bottom and 2 around the top. Just going to count how many I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. I'm going to do this 12 times. That's 8. And I want to keep these wires nice and parallel and nice and straight. Once you've done the first few wraps, they'll lock together. You've kind of bound them together. And I want these to be fairly even, but don't worry, we can adjust them at the end if need be. So when I'm compressing my weave, I'm just sliding a little bit of pressure up just to make it nice and neat. Splay them out a little bit. I also tend to find that when I'm bringing that weaving wire over, you'll see I give a little bit of a push with my finger as I'm weaving, and that's just straightening it out. I want to make sure each wrap sits neatly next to the last one. It's not going over the wrap, it's just going next to the last one. So this would be my 11th one over the top. In between to wrap the bottom one twice and then over the top again. So it's a 2-2 weave, wrapping twice over 2 wires. But again, you can do any weave you like. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, once I've done my 12th wrap over the top here, I'm just bringing it into the middle once. So I'm not wrapping over twice on the bottom. I'm just bringing it through so that wire is sitting in the middle. If you can see that. Good morning, Anna. Says morning, everyone. I can see some mix coming along. And Mina's asking, she'd like to make gemstone pendants in this design. You could easily, I have done a gemstone ring with this design, you could easily make it into a pendant. Okay, so the wire is coming up, my weaving wire, in between those two base wires. And I'm going to add my large pearl on to that weaving wire. So my large pearl is a 6mm. Let me just check. No, it's not. It's bigger than that. My outside ones that I'm going to be framing it with are 4, and the centre is an 8mm bead. So I'm sliding that on to the middle. And what I want this pearl or this bead to sit in the centre of those wires. So I'm going to bring that wire back through the centre between those two, and I'm just going to position it. So what I'm doing is I'm locking that bead in place, and I'm making sure that it's sitting upright so you can't see the hole with the wire exiting it. You can't see that drill hole from above. And then I'm just going to wrap it over both twice. And then I'm going to come in either with my tools or with my fingers, and I'm just going to push that weave underneath that bead. So it's sitting like this from the back. Keeping those wires straight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that weaving wire and I'm going to add on 9 of my smaller 4mm pearls. So just adding them straight onto that wire. And I find that using these size 4mm pearls, 9 of them will wrap the circumference of that 8mm pearl in the centre. So just straighten it out those wires, and then we're just going to wrap by taking that wire all the way round, and we want those pearls to sit nice and tightly around the centre. And then I'm just going to take that weaving wire and I'm going to bring it through the middle of those two base wires, just the once to lock it in place. And you can reposition. Now they will move about a little bit, but as we start to create this kind of wrapping around, it will kind of lock it in place. So I've got my weaving wire coming here next to those two base wires and that pearl. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that wire straight, so straighten it out with your fingers if need be, or with your pliers. And I'm going to take it across 3. So it's coming up here and I'm going to trap those 3. And each time I do this, I'm going to go across 3 of the pearls. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move around all of those, wrapping in between and catching 3 at a time. I get a little bit confused sometimes which ones I've done and which ones I've not. So I tend to work going kind of anti-clockwise. So you can see I've brought that first through. It's going to be quite taut because I want to keep that wire close to the back. And every time I'm wrapping, sometimes I will go across the back of the shank, so it will hold these beads to the shank. You can see I'm coming up here and I'm going across 3 on the other side. I'm then going to bring that up over the neck, between the next pearl here. And again, I'm going to lock across 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3 on the side. And then bringing it through to the next pearl here. And that's going to go across 3 on that side. So now I've already come between this one. Let me get nice and close. I'm bringing it over to the next one, and I want that to trap 3, 1, 2, 3 on the side. Bringing it to the next one, and just turn it round as you go if it's easier, and across the next 3. This time I'm taking it behind the shank, but nice and tight, nice and close. You don't have to hold it too forcefully, but I don't want this wire to be gappy and baggy because I don't want it to catch on anything. So I've come between this pearl, so I'm moving it to the next one, and it's going over 3. And I'm just going to take that all the way round each time to the next one, 3 over the side. You don't always have to go around the ring shank, but you need to make sure that you're catching those 3 pearls. It wants to go across the ring shank then. Straighten it out if need be. Over to the next one, and then those 3 pearls. So it's really, really straightforward to do, and I hope that makes sense. I might try and do another one for you just so you can see that again. So what I've done is each time I've come between 1 and locked 3 at the side, I've created this kind of star effect going across the pearls. Morning Trish, don't worry. So each time I'm bringing that wire between, it's going through 3. And that will bring my weave back to the start, basically. So where I've got those 2 unwoven base wires. So my wires from the back, I'm going to now lock it in place once I've gone all the way round. And I'm going to wrap it around those 2 base wires twice. So it looks like this from the back, and this from the front. Now all I'm going to do is do the same amount of weaves here as I did here. So as I say, you can see I've moved up there, that slid along, that's okay. I've only got small fingers, so this weave will probably cover. But if you wanted to do more repetitions, you absolutely could. You've got plenty of wire here, I would say, for most sizes. So I did 12 on this side, I want to do 12 on this side. So that wrapping over twice will be my first one. In between the middle, wrapping twice. Don't forget to compress your weave gently. Wrapping over both. Coming in between the middle to wrap the bottom one twice. Over both twice. In between to wrap the bottom one twice. Again, you can splay these out at the end a little bit if that helps you get your wire in between. So every now and again, I'm just pushing that weave just to neaten it up. Emil says, very pretty, I might have a go with this one. Thank you very much. So it is limited stock if you want to get your kits for this, but they are a really good price today. And it is a quick make. Obviously, everybody will maybe take a little bit longer to do the weaving than somebody else might, but I think they're nice quick makes. So wrapping twice around the bottom and twice around both, and twice around the bottom, and just keep going with that weave repetition. Let me see, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. And I just want to make sure that you can see the same amount of weave on both sides. So you could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see there the same amount of wraps are visible on one side as they are on the other side. So when you've woven the amount that you want, I'm just going to finish off with those 3 wraps around the bottom, just to secure. And I'm going to trim that wire off, preferably on the outside if I can. So come in nice and close, and make sure you tuck in any of those sharp edges, because we don't want to catch in on your finger, and we don't want it to catch on any clothing. My mum's popped in. She says, good morning, Natalie and everyone from Frank and me. I've been down to my mum's this morning. She's dropped my boy off. I've dropped my boy off, so she's looking after him for me. So thank you. If you want to, you can compress over your weave as well with your nylon coated pliers. Nylon coated pliers are really good because it's just going to make sure that, you know, you're not scratching or tarnishing that wire. But you can see for this size I've done here, I've got a much longer length on one side than that I have on the other. So what you can do is you can work out, so I started about 2 centimeters in there. I'd like to finish having 2 centimeters of the exposed unwrapped wire on the other side. But I've made sure that by putting the amount of wire in for your base wires that I have, you should have plenty if you want to make those larger sizes. So I've now got my ring looking like this. Now it doesn't look much like a ring at the moment, but that's my shank. What you can do is you can just go along the back and you can push in any of the wires with your tools or your fingers a little bit, just to make sure that nothing's sticking out there. So it's nice and close to the ring shank, and you can see my beads are sitting fairly central along that ring shank, and they're also now fixed in place. There's no movement on them. If you want to, you can also adjust the wires at the top, checking that they are going in between all of those beads nice and firmly, and you've created that crisscross kind of star pattern. Hi Brian, hope you're well. So now all it is to do is just to shape that ring. So if you have a ring mandrel, then that's great. If you don't, anything you've got which is quite small and cylindrical, so you might have like a marker pen, or you could do it against your finger. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it up against whatever thing I've got, and I'm just going to push those beads between my thumb and the mandrel, and then I'm going to bring the ring shank around. And what I want to do is, as I turn that round, I want one pair of wires sitting on top and one pair of wires sitting below, like so. So my weave isn't going to necessarily come all the way around, but it's going to go around the finger. You can also, if you want to, just check that when you're pulling them round that they are sitting straight. So you can adjust them if you want to. But what we want to do is we want to get something that's going to give the curve that we're after. So I'm just going to shape them round, making sure that I've pulled it quite tight, put a little bit of force, bit of pressure against the mandrel or your cylindrical whatever that you're using, just to create that rounded shape. Put a little bit of pressure there when I've straightened it out. So I'm just gonna reshape it. Brian's saying, can these be used as pendants? Yeah, absolutely. You could do the same technique to create that kind of cluster at the front, no problem. Thank you, Lisbeth. That's very kind of you. So now I've got my kind of ring shape. I did straighten that out, to be honest, and I probably shouldn't because I need to get that more of a curve. Just gonna put a little bit of pressure against that. I've got my ring shape roughly, and now I'm going to just curl the ends in. So there's different ways of curling the ends. You just want to make sure that the end is fully curved in and they're not too large, because when I wear it, I want it to sit comfortably underneath my finger so I can close up my hand. If they're really large, it's going to be a bit obstructing and you want it to be comfortable. So you can turn them in facing the same way, or you can do that version, whatever you prefer to do. So you can see here I've got little curls there, and they'll just sit comfortably when I close my hand up. So to do that, I'm just going to check that I've got a little bit of a curl, a little bit of wire which lines up with my weave. So I'm going to count 2 of those, like wraps around 2, and I'd like them both to be around 2 wraps. If you need to trim off, you can do. Just make sure that you're only trimming the exposed base wire and not your shank. And so I'm going to trim that off a little bit more, only a tiny little bit. I just want to make sure that they are the same size. And then I'm going to open them out a little bit. I can reshape it again at the end, so don't worry too much. And I'm just going to add a little curl into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to use the very tip of the tapered end of my round nose pliers to curl it. So I'm going to position it in and just start to curl one way. Again, don't worry if it changes shape, you can readjust this. Now, as I've started to curl, can you see there's ever so tiny flat part of that curl? And that's just as I've started to curl it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my cutters and I'm just trimming off the absolute smallest amount. So like not even a millimetre. And then when I pop my round nose back in, I'm going to be able to curl that up even more. So I've got that full curl. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that curl is touching this part. So it's fully touching itself. So there's nothing there that's going to allow it to catch on anything. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. So you can curl them out. So curl one way and one the other. And that's going to give you this kind of shape. Or you can curl them both in the same direction, and that's going to give you this kind of shape. So again, I'm going to take the very tip of my round nose pliers, just holding those shank wires just as I start to turn it. I'm going to take a teeny tiny bit of that part off. Again, open it out away from your ring if it's easier. And I'm going to curl it all the way around. Sorry. And you can as well, if you want to, just kind of straighten them up a little bit. And you can readjust if you need to. So I'd like one to sit on the inside of the other. And then flip over and do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to separate them out a little bit just so I can get my round nose in. Taking it right to the tip of the round nose because I only want a small curl. Start to form that curl a little bit. Trim off tiny teeny bit. And that, by trimming that tiny bit off, that just gives me the perfect curl really. It is starting to bend out of shape, that's absolutely fine. Because we can readjust. trimming off that straight bit. Just going to curl that down a little bit more. I want to make sure that that curl is touching the inside of itself. And then I can pop it back onto my ring mandrel. And then just push that down. So I'm just pushing them down flat. And again, you can readjust if you want to. So I want those to sit a little bit closer to each other. So you can curl it a little bit more. Don't want the curls to be too big. And then I'm just going to make sure that that is sitting nice and neatly. Again, readjust any wires that you want to underneath, making sure it's nice and close. And my ring is ready to wear and very comfortable. So if I want to shape it to my finger, I can just pull those in a little bit closer or move them out a little bit further. So ring size wise on this one that I've made to fit around my middle finger is an N, which is quite small. That's coming up to about a 7. But again, I can slide that all the way down. So you can see I'm now sitting at a U, which is a size 10. And all that's happening is these are just moving slightly. I'm going to push it all the way down. And you know, I've got like a size 14, which is like a Z plus 3. So you can make these as large as you want. And then if I needed to make it smaller again, just pushing them in. So that's the good point about having a copper wire. It's nice and malleable and it is, you know, easy to shape and maneuver. And you've got your colour remain on this, so it should keep its colour. If you want, you can just check afterwards, again, once you've shaped it, that all of those wires are in between the points on the pearls. Anything needs tightening up, then just come in with your pliers and very gently give it a little twist. Those wires will kind of tighten down. So all you see, I'm just doing that movement, and that's just kind of locking those wires tighter underneath. But just be careful you don't pull it too much out of shape. Really, really straightforward. So we've got 3 colours for you today in the kit. We've got the lovely pink wire with the rosewood. We've got the silver and the blue like I've just been making. And we've got the gorgeous lemon chiffon on the gold. Mina saying, could you use 0.4 wire to make a pendant? Yes, you could. I would just be using those to the 0.4 to wrap over. I will look at doing a similar design for this, Mina, and they'd make really sweet little earrings as well, I think. Mel says, looks lovely. Thank you for another great live. You're very, very welcome. Quick question, says Brian, what does the pick 3 for 2 on the ring kits mean? So each of our rings, each kit is £1.99. That's going to make 1 ring, but you can choose 3. You can buy 3 rings and you're only paying for 2 of them. So instead of paying £1.99 for each, you'll be paying for 2 if that makes sense. So we've got like a little deal on for you, but they are limited stock, so they are going to sell, I think, quite quickly. Jan says, beautiful make, thank you very much. Trish says, loves the earring ideas. And And Jan says beautiful, Kath says pretty. Good morning to Joanne in Coventry. Jeremy says love it, thank you for another winner, you're very welcome. Yeah, really straightforward to do. If you need to watch back the video, you can do. Just a little reminder, you go, let's go down back on the mat again, a little bit more focus. You go and bring your wire between one bead, and you always lock in 3. Focus, a little bit of focus. So if I was coming up here, I'd be going over those 3, 1, 2, 3, bringing the wire behind to the next one, and then it goes over, locks them 3, moving over to the next one, moving over, going 3. So it's just going round in between each bead one at a time, always having 3 pearls being kind of captured by that wire. So it will frame the center of that larger pearl, and then it will bring you back to where you started, so you can just weave the other part of the shank. So I'm glad you enjoyed them. I hope you have fun making them. Judith says, I see rings on the horizon. Let me just get rid of that news windows. So thank you so much for being with me today. I'm going to be back with you on Friday. I'm going to be doing some macrame bracelets with you on Friday. I've not done them for a little while. Really straightforward, nice, pretty makes. So if you can come and join me then, please do. I hope you all have a really lovely week. Camille says she missed watching me last week, and have a lovely day. I am going away this week for a couple of days with the little one. I'm very tempted to take a few bits and bobs with me. I'm going to Glasgow, so if anyone's up that way, come and say hiya to me. Trish says, it's like a spirelli technique I used to do when card making. A spirelli, like a spiral. I don't know what that is, Trish, so you just taught me something new. I'm going to go look that up. Hello Frank, I'm waving at you. Be good. Right, I love you all lots. I will see you all soon, and have a lovely